With all the noise in the digital world out there, how are you and your business standing out from the crowd? That's our topic today, Mick, and it's a good one.
I'm just glad to be finally talking about some actual marketing and not so much sales.
Oh, yeah, but that's where we live. No, it's great to have Mick on board with us today. Mick's our marketing director. He's the man. He's the magic behind all of these cameras.
So Steel Pushers is my baby, and it's been absolutely a labour of love. We're up to episode 5 or 6, but it's great to have. It's great to be on the show, and I think we've got a really interesting guest coming up after the break that you're going to interview.
Certainly do. We'll be interviewing Declan Kluver of Blended Employment. This is a bloke who's mastered the art of getting content on LinkedIn, making sure that he is definitely standing out from the crowd. He's got a great little method that he used that we'll touch on later as well.
He's mastered the art of accessing something that is virtually a window into almost everyone on the planet.
Yeah.
We're talking about the phone. I don't have my phone with me because I'm not attached to it, but we've got some stats here. Apparently, on average, 3 hours and 15 minutes a day we spend on our phones, and the top 20% of that, 4.5 hours.
And I'm one of those top 20%, hands down. So the thing's never more than 2 meters from my person, and that will be the case for a lot of you guys out there, especially you steel pushers in business. The phone never leaves your side. There's a reason for that.
And if the phone is the carrier, then LinkedIn is certainly the platform when it comes to business to business. It's one of the fastest growing social media platforms. Twitter grew 9 million people in 2 years. LinkedIn over the last 2 years, 123 million followers.
And the bulk of those are in upper management.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's a really key demographic that you definitely need to be reaching. And we're going to talk a lot today about how you should be reaching it. So first thing we're going to start to touch on is personal brand versus business brand.
Well, it's my opinion that if you were to spend all of your time working on your business brand, because that's what everybody knows. Everybody understands the Coca-Cola logo and the Nike swoosh.
Yep.
But you have a tendency to then build up what they call a faceless brand. And that can turn quite negative, I think, to your customer base.
Yeah.
If you turn around, though, and you think about building up your own personal brand from within your business, you're building your personal brand and you're building your business brand. That's
right. When you look at even smaller business by comparison to big business as well, how many people, how many faces could you rattle off and name and recognise, say, from McDonald's? By comparison to how many faces could you recognise from your local takeaway shop or your local tractor dealer? So it's much easier, and this is the way people behave, and it's definitely something that I've recognised over the years, is people recognise logos, but they buy from people.
I think, because what's the saying? People buy from people.
People buy from people. They recognise a logo, but they'll buy from people.
And I think you buy what you know as well.
And you buy what you trust.
And you buy what you trust. And I think you trust what you know. I think we're kind of rattling off catchphrases.
Wait, here, have a couple of catchphrases.
But honestly, if you're putting your face in front of the brand and you're talking about what you know and people see it often enough, they will inevitably trust you.
Yeah, and you will, especially if you start using your social media on top of your own website or any other marketing that you're doing, you'll always get a higher response to the content or a better response to the content if you're connecting that content with a face. If that business is connected to a face, you're going to get a better response.
And in my experience as a marketer over the past 18 years, people respond better to content that has your face in it. Product videos that just have products and a voiceover that's been recorded by somebody that you found online won't do as well as the iPhone selfie video that you do walking around your factory or your workshop or whatever it is.
Yep. Yeah, well, why is it important to put your face to the brand? The one thing, there's three main things that I like to think of why, which is it reinforces authenticity.
Yep.
It shows integrity and it shows honesty. And it helps you to become the trusted advisor in your space.
And I think there's an element of being brave getting in front of the camera, because nobody likes to get in front of the camera. Everybody hates the way their voice sounds. They don't like the way they look on camera.
It's a piece of getting used to.
Because we know that the people who are watching it actually see you as a little bit more authentic because you're brave enough to actually get in front of the camera and talk about what you're passionate about.
Yeah, that's right. And you're already in front of your customer base. So do it in front of a camera as well. If you're already in front of the people you talk to on a daily basis, in business relationships, in business to customer relationships, just take it that one step further and step in front of a camera and reach a bigger audience. Don't take yourself too seriously is one piece of advice that you gave me, Mick, when they first started pumping me in front of a camera.
Yeah.
And it's helped immensely to not be afraid of doing it.
But take yourself a little bit seriously.
Only a little, though.
When
Not
you
too much.
when you're in front of the camera, if you're completely nonchalant about it and you're not taking yourself too seriously, then you can lose a little bit of that authenticity.
True.
If you've got that, if you hold on to that little bit of passion and that little bit of seriousness, people buy that. I know that Australia has that tall poppy syndrome,
Oh, it's shocking for it.
but it works. Let me tell you,
Yeah.
my experience. Yeah.
And Mick's spot on. When we do say don't take yourself too seriously, what we mean by not, or by actually taking yourself too seriously, just a little bit, talk about what you know, and that's why you'll get the response. So how often, Mick, should guys out there trying to get into that digital space put themselves in front of their target market? Is there a time, a number, or what?
It's the wrong question to be asking, because I actually think the question to be asking is how consistent do you need to be? If you are posting regularly and consistently, that is when you're going to get the most benefit out of the marketing that you're doing when it comes to this content marketing space. Where you need to start thinking about frequency is when you need to compare what the rest of your competitors are doing and how saturated is your market. Declan, who's going to be on after the break, he's a recruiter. And I think if you know anything about recruiters and LinkedIn, that is an absolutely saturated market.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of competitors out there. A lot of them are doing video content. There has to be a way for you to stand out from the crowd.
Yeah, and the bonus of consistency is you're getting that repeat exposure. When your repeat exposure is consistent and it's at the highest level that you can manage it, what you're doing there is countering for when your buyers may not be ready to buy. If your market isn't ready to buy right now, but your brand is in front of them consistently all the time, by the time it comes around to the point when they are ready to buy, and your brand's there and it's the first one they think of, you've already covered all of your bases. And it gives you a much better chance of converting your marketing into a dollar figure.
And I actually believe, and I don't have research to back this up except from my own experience, but I actually believe the more you're in front of somebody, the more you can actually influence when that buying happens. Because you're in front of them, you're consistent, they are starting to trust you, you might actually move that buying cycle a little bit shorter than if they were just to fall into when they needed that product.
Yeah, that's right. And something to really remember, and a good way to sort of look at how that relates or how you might already be experiencing that is you think about even your close-knit group of friends or close-knit group of business owners that you talk to on a regular basis. How often do you take on mannerisms? How often do you take on little things that people do around you regularly and consistently that suddenly you realize you're doing yourself? And marketing works very much in the same way. If you're getting into someone's head consistently, it's eventually going to yield a result.
There is the research called the mere exposure effect, which gets a little bit technical from a marketing perspective, but everybody knows it, even if they don't know what the name is. You know the old adage, you see a billboard 3 times and you're ready to buy.
Yeah.
That's what it used to be. They reckon it's upwards around about 18 to 20 times that you have to see a brand before you even feel comfortable enough to consider them.
Well, touch points are up over the 20s now as well, so that makes sense. If it takes that much time and that much contact with a brand or a business or even a face to develop enough trust to be able to invest in that, then you need to make sure that you're putting out the content regularly to meet that demand.
And one of the tools for that is to really nail automation. So if you are in an industry like Declan is in recruiting, you have to get really smart about how you're distributing your content because everybody's time poor. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Everybody doesn't have enough time to actually create this content. Think about something like somebody like Declan. He's got to put out something every single day just to stay in front of that potential buying cycle.
Yep.
How do you do that? You're going to have to spend a little bit of time banking up some content. So maybe if you were to spend 30 minutes to an hour trying to nail 5 videos on your iPhone, then you're distributing that using tools like HubSpot or Hootsuite or even your marketing resource so that they can actually get you really consistent.
Well, just building the videos that I do regularly on LinkedIn as well has been made easy by using certain apps, so I can just maintain a template, get it in there, have different apps that develop subtitles and make my life much, much easier. So, capitalize and leverage any automation that you can. Definitely good advice. The other thing to use when you are creating this content as well is share your experiences irrespective of the industry that you're in.
It's about people.
Yeah.
I learned throughout my career that I used to be pretty concerned if I went and worked for a company that made like camper trailers and camping products that I'd have to be a camper. That's not true.
No.
If you understand the people or the job roles in that company, when you're B2B, of course, you can start to figure out what their needs and their wants are because you understand that. If you've been in business long enough, or even you are in marketing, you understand what marketing coordinators who might be the ones making the decision because they've got the ear of the business owner.
Yep.
If you're a business owner yourself and you're talking to another business owner who's an owner-operator, you steel pushers out there, you know what is keeping him up or waking him up at that notorious 3 a.m. wake up.
That's right. You're able to connect your personal experiences with what your market is experiencing themselves. If you know for a fact in the past at some stage in your life, your boss at the time had a machine breakdown and you knew for a fact he was up at 3 a.m. looking for a machine, it's that kind of education that we get from our dealers that use our platform when they let us know how their buyers shop, we can then interpret into helping them to market their products. We may very well not know the ins and outs of exactly how their buyers use the machine, but we know how they buy the machine.
Right.
And that's the connection.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, people buy from people they trust. And the main thing to remember is regardless of the industry that you guys are actually in, you're able to take from the point that you're all in positions within companies that all have similar goals. You're all either looking to provide a service, to sell a product, or just to promote the brand itself. In a sense, you've all got a similar goal that you need to push in front of your market. And to do that easily, it's drawing off your personal experience, irrespective of your industry, and putting it in front of your buyers and doing that consistently. If you combine those things, you're going to get a better response.
And it makes you more relatable as well. Because
100%.
If you are talking about personal experience, and the rule is not to always just talk about your product or your service. There is a lot of room for you to actually talk about something that happened. Maybe you had a difficult customer that you had to sort of overcome a problem with, or maybe there's an objection that you've had to overcome that you're pretty proud of how you handled it. That's the sort of content that other business-to-business customers or your peers want to actually see.
And by doing that, you're reaching the ultimate goal, which is to build enough trust in your market for them to come to you to find a solution to a problem rather than for you to have to chase the buyer. That's the ultimate goal. And by developing trust, by putting your face to the brand, by getting and putting yourself out there, you're building that trust. You're building everything that you need to ensure that trust is being developed in the end user and in the end buyer.
But unfortunately, the reality is we've been talking a lot about what to do and how to create effective influence on these sorts of platforms. That doesn't matter anything if nobody's going to see it. So we've got Declan coming up after the break, and he's going to talk about something called the 100th cow method, which I'll let him tell you a little bit more about that.
It's amazing. It's simple and it's so effective.
Yeah. Because if you're not standing out from the crowd, then it doesn't matter what your message is or what you're selling, nobody is going to see it.
Exactly right. So guys, stay tuned. We'll be right back after this break with Declan Kluver from Blended Employment and his 100 cow method. We'll be right back shortly.
For me, everything I do, I've got to try and achieve this level, and I really felt like I'm at this level now.
The whole point of this for me was to unlock more potential. How do you go to the next level again, and how do you keep stepping up, even just incrementally from here on in?
I want to see what I'm capable of.
I'm in business. I felt like I was kind of stuck in a bit of a rut, and wanted to get to the next level.
So I felt in areas of my life I wasn't showing up, and I wanted somebody to hold me accountable to that.
I've got big ambitions on what I want to achieve, and if I can't be a good leader, it won't happen.
No idea really what we're in for, and I expect it to be challenging. I expect it to be tough. But if we don't have that, then we're not going to move forward.
2 40-kilo sandbags and a 10-kilo dumbbell.
It's been amazing to have 10, 12 guys around the country plugging in each week who are going through similar
Breathe.
challenges.
Focus on your breath. Focus on your breath. Up to the pole, up to the pole. Keep moving, come on, don't let go now. Don't let go now, Cole, don't let go. Not now, not now, not now, not now, not now. Yeah. Yeah. Come on. Up. Yeah. Keep moving. Don't give up now. You're too close. It has to fucking happen now. This is the point. Set yourself up for your 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, even up to 100. You can define who you want to be now and then work towards it.
Welcome back, all you steel pushers out there, and I'm joined by Declan Kluver of Blended Employment. Thanks for coming in, mate.
No, thank you for having me.
I love the suit.
I'm excited.
Mate, it's part of standing out from the crowd, and Declan definitely manages to do that and
That's
do
what it's
that
all
very
about.
well. So, to kick off, Declan, let's get stuck straight in. I want to talk about, one, how competitive the recruitment industry is. You know that far better than I ever could.
Oh, big time.
But what did you see in that industry that you didn't like that other recruiters were doing that helped you to start to stand out?
I think, like, to put in perspective with how competitive this industry is, in our suburb in Brisbane called Fortitude Valley, there is 18 recruitment agencies in our suburb, and it's not a big suburb. So that's how competitive is the market.
Right.
So, and that's just on Google, not to mention, you know, people operating from home, startups that aren't registered. But the biggest thing is we want to expose, like, recruitment can be an industry where you don't really know what happens. You may be an employer and you receive a CV, and then all of a sudden someone turns up at your business and you're like, what actually happened? So for this all to come about, and there's a big history and backlog of the whole process and how it's all broken down. So that's why we want to swing the door right open. It keeps us open and honest. If we are projecting ourselves all the time, we have to make sure our processes internally are what our message is.
Yeah, great.
So that's why I wanted to get it out for everyone, and so everyone could understand what it's all about.
So, Declan, kicking off a very young business and using the tools at hand, what really made you decide I need to do something differently in order to stand out?
Because we needed to survive. Business is tough as it is, so you need to give yourself every opportunity to keep the fight going, to keep servicing your clients and stay in business. So if you're not doing everything humanly possible with the resources you have, we don't have any marketing budgets. We've never paid to be on Sky News, Channel 7, ABC Radio, or the Courier Mail. So you have to get innovative. You have to make things happen. You have to be attractive that, hey, people, this is different, this is unique. Otherwise, because we don't have the marketing budget, we can't just go and spend thousands of dollars to hopefully get a return.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, myself, some of you out there might have seen my own videos that I've been posting on LinkedIn, and I'm very new at doing that. Thank you, Declan, because I am modelling a lot of what you do. But it's about starting somewhere, and it's getting started. That's so important. Put yourself out there and actually have a crack. It doesn't matter whether you're using a mobile phone, whether you're starting to get into using other technology that's at your disposal as well, if you're upgrading your tools, and we'll talk about the tools of the trade later on. But it's about making sure that you do focus on getting that start. It's something that's in sales a lot. And yes, I'm going into sales, and Mick will be standing in the background now going, this is supposed to be about marketing. But it's very similar to call reluctance. And I'm sure a lot of you steel pushers out there that are business owners have staff that have that call reluctance, making that first call, making that first video, having that first crack is where it all starts. And how was that for you?
Yeah, I was terrified. I always get a bit of butterflies in my stomach when I got to make the cold calls. It never goes away. But you do it. It's not the fact that I enjoy videos now, but when I started, I was so nervous. What are people going to think? You know, am I sending the right message? Is this the right thing to do? Like, we were getting 100 views. I remember, we laugh now, we get on average 40,000 views a week, but, you know, 12 months ago, we were getting 400. and no one was watching any of them.
Yep.
And it's having the resilience to be able to go, hey, let's go again tomorrow.
Yep.
Because it's no different. It's consistency. It's no different to anything else you try. It's like whether it's in sales, marketing, anything, going to the gym. It's all about being consistent. And therefore, that's where everyone goes wrong. They give up before the actual fruits of the labour come back.
Yeah, great. So moving on to the next thing that I want to talk about is the content itself. We've talked a lot about what you can do to get content out there, and how you need to be consistent.
Yep.
So especially in direct relation to the content that you put out, because it is very different to what
Yeah.
I do as well. And of course it does need to be due to the fact that, as Mick said before, you're in such a saturated market. What content has worked for you?
So for myself, we have obviously the outlandish stuff that is very different. We look like a croc hunter,
love
but we're
these.
always looking for great stuff.
Costumes he's got in some of his videos are so good. I think
So-
the badger was one of my
The
favourites.
badger, the
That
honey
was
badger,
so good.
that's classic. So it's our whole idea is to stand out. But I'll give you two comparisons. With myself, obviously I can go down the business owner route. That's tough. I incorporate my family, raising a young family. Everyone can relate to that. Also, being a young Australian, because we all get older and it all happens very quickly. So they're all the different things that I can relate to and what I like to promote. But then, for example, Manisha in our office, she came to from India 4 months ago with no experience in Australia. I can't relate to any immigrants. I can't relate to the troubles they go through, the hardships they go through in trying to find a job. Yet she can, and she's gained a massive following just from talking about that. For example, she was on a cold call the other day, and they all of a sudden started speaking Hindi together. Which started off in Australian. I just grabbed the camera, 20 seconds, multiculturalism down the bottom, and all of that video got 3,500 views.
That's really effective use of on the spot.
Yeah.
On the spot content for that
Spontaneous.
light bulb moment.
Yeah.
And look, in relation to you guys out there pushing steel, it's sort of the same concept behind
Big
making
time.
sure that the people that manage your leads, the people that manage your listings, the people that manage your marketing of particular machines are the guys who are selling it.
Yep.
Steve and I have talked about it a lot in previous episodes, where you need to make sure that all of the leads and all of the marketing that's being done for a particular machine is being handled by the people that know the machine. So that's a very similar concept. So
And play to your strengths.
Yeah, definitely.
Manisha can't go out there and go, I've been living here for years. I know the landscape. I know everything. But I understand for all those, engineers coming out of India looking to get a job here. I'll show you how I did it because I've been through it myself.
Yep.
Everyone's sick of this stuff where it's just everyone's an expert because they've done some sort of course. Like people are over it. You need genuine information that you've done yourself. And that's why I think people can feel the passion and people can feel the honesty that comes through. In our videos, in everything we put out, and it is consistent because we're not here to pull the wool over each other's eyes. We're here to give it straight and hard and the truth, and that's what people need these days.
excellent. So now I've touched on it previously, and I know that a lot of the guys out there watching this are probably chomping at the bit. What is the 100 cow method?
So imagine 100 cows in a paddock. They're all munching on grass.
Right.
And there's 99 of them just munching away. And then there's a 100th cow who just gets up. He starts dancing with a sombrero hat on. And you look over that whole paddock. Who are you going to remember?
Well, I'm going to remember that
Remember
cow. I'm also going to run because
Good
that's
answer.
really weird. So, okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
But
so
it's
making
how to stand out.
Well, yeah, if you're in that plethora, I suppose in the digital world, if you're in this plethora of marketing that never stops, and it doesn't, in the digital space,
Yeah.
it's never ending. And especially if you have such a hugely saturated market, you need to do something different. You need to do something that's going to stand out. And
Yeah.
you do that so well. Whether it is
thanks.
through costumes, whether it is through the type of, vibrancy or energy in your
Yeah.
videos, it's something that's, I suppose, disturbing the market. And I think with Machines Fuel and with what I'm doing on LinkedIn as well, it's not really been done in a marketplace before, where an individual account manager or digital performance manager has come out and started doing regular videos and advising the market that they work with. So it's about being that 100th cow, I guess.
And that can be in the way you communicate and everything. It could be, for example, instead of just someone has an interview at our office and we walk them over to lift, press the button, make sure they leave safely, as opposed to just see you, mate, walk off, or calling them back at the end of the interview that afternoon to say thanks for coming in, really appreciate it.
Yeah, the small things make a big difference, especially in business, and I'm sure you guys out there all know that. So we talked already about how consistency is key.
Yeah.
So currently, how often you post this? It's nearly every day in a very saturated market. But if let's say you don't have the time or the tech or the know-how to start posting every day, What about consistency? What's a piece of advice of consistency you can give to our viewers that really hits home and makes it easy for anyone to follow?
Yeah, sure. So we have another rule in our office now. You know, take it however you want, but business is pressure. And we've got a rule. It's called the $1 million rule. If you're going to get paid $1 million to find a bit of content, put that up, and make sure you do it again the next day. At the end of every day, you'd get paid $1 million. I guarantee you would put that content up.
Oh, definitely.
Every single day. There wouldn't be a problem. You wouldn't be scratching around for ideas because you know if you didn't put a bit of content up, then you'd fall apart. So with us, we average anywhere from 5 to 9 times a week, just depending what's going on.
That's massive. So I do like that rule, though, and you're 100% right. If I was getting paid $1 million a content piece, I'd make sure I found something.
But that's the philosophy.
Yeah.
That's the intensity you need to bring to your business.
That's great.
And a lot of small businesses, they think, oh, but I'm over marketing. I'm doing too much. Everyone forgets about yesterday. That's why we have a new paper for today.
Yeah.
Because no one reads yesterday's news. And we have all these big
Love
players
that. That's a great
building
analogy.
so much content out every single day. Yet small business is going, oh, it's too hard, it's too much. Well, you're never going to be a big business. You're never going to have what you could have if you didn't start somewhere.
Well,
Coca-Cola started somewhere.
Yeah, big business didn't start as billion-dollar business. You know, these guys,
They probably started harder than what we
Yeah,
started.
and they never stop. I mean, if you look at a great example of that kind of story is persistence is definitely a key factor. I mean, you only have to look at the story behind Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Yeah.
It started as a guy who had a recipe and decided to door knock and feed people chicken until he made something of himself.
But now it becomes, I can't go backwards. If I don't have a video going out or a bit of content, I'm like, I don't feel normal, you know? It's like I've rocked up to work with no pants on. It just wouldn't happen. It just wouldn't happen.
Well, that'd work for some really interesting content. Jesus, you get some attention, that's for sure. Right, so we know consistency is key.
Yeah.
Now, tools of the trade, a lot of small business will worry about this.
Yeah.
And that's, and I did at first too, and until Mick and even Steve really rammed it home for me that I've got a camera, I've got a phone, I just need to download some apps and I can do it. So you can start simply with a device. A mobile device is enough.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm currently using to produce my
And that's
content.
that's all we used for 6 months.
And where did you go from that?
And then now we have a unique little setup. It's quite simple. So it's a nice little M50 from Canon and a Rode mic on top. I think a combo was $800.
Yeah, that wasn't product placement, by the way.
No.
Don't worry. No, although that could work. No, so it's not so much about investing massive money into the tools that you're using. Invest the time and the effort into what you're putting out there.
Yeah.
You only need a basic setup.
Yeah.
And that's what I've found. So, what if you ran out of ideas for content though? So you've got the tools, you've got the know, you know what you want, you know what you do, you know what your buyers want to see. But what if you just have a day where you just run out of content? What are you doing there? Do you have things banked up? What do you do?
No, it's all on the spot. So every video I don't record, there's no backlog of stuff. Maybe now because we're progressing down the track, I can, post an old video and laugh about it.
Yep.
And be like, oh, look, remember this is where we started, and then that becomes content if you build enough of it. But it's on the spot. People want spontaneous things. They want, breaking news. Why is breaking news so exciting? Because it's happening now. They don't go, hey guys, let's watch this car chase from something that happened a week ago, unless a blooper happens. But we want to hear about the now. We want to see what's happening in their business. And business is alive when it's consistent and when it's on time.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Look, Declan, thank you so much for coming in today.
No, thanks for having
You've been
me.
a wealth of valuable information, and I still can't get over that safari suit. It's tops. Guys, look, so in summary, what we want to make sure that we're doing is consistency. It seems to be a running theme right across the board when it comes to getting content out there in your digital marketing, regardless of the platform you're using, regardless of whether or not you're doing video, photos, whatever it is.
And one thing is, you're in your day-to-day job every day. Recruitment, we're in an office. Yes, we go out and see client meetings, but we're looking through databases and interviewing candidates. On the textbook of it, it's not very exciting. Yet we make it exciting. And there is so, all your machine dealers out there, you guys do some unique stuff. You do some amazing jobs. And that's why you need to be able to open your world up and open your world to other people's eyes, because they find that really unique. How a backhoe works.
And to
I've
do
got no
that,
idea.
yeah, and to do that, you've got to be
Just do
consistent,
it.
but you've got to put yourself out there. Have that first crack. Get in front of the camera. Don't be afraid to do it. Don't take yourself too seriously, but have that first go. It's really important to do that. And when you're posting it, post it everywhere that you can. Start with platforms you're familiar with. Start with building from the network that you already have. Work out from there. Leverage them to start actually posting and resharing. The other thing is as well, automation. it's as simple as using apps on a phone.
Yeah.
If you can make your posting and your content uploads much easier simply by using a template that's in an app on your phone, or simply by making sure that you've got a set structure, it makes it much easier. So guys, look, it's great to have you back for Steel Pushers. Thank you for
Appreciate
coming
it.
in,
No,
Declan.
thanks for having me. This
Thank
is
you,
exciting.
Mick, for joining me. Remember the podcast as well, guys. That's available. Will be available after the episode as well. And next week's episode, we will be talking about the guys from Rise of Kings. Steve will be interviewing the guys from there. So really good episode to tune in. We'll see you next time on Steel Pushers. Remember, we're just here to help you buy better and sell faster.
That's it. See you guys.